Next slide. This is the Quabo, the outside, late kingdom to the first intermediate period. Letter from Shepsi to his mother Yi. It is Shepsi speaking to his mother Yi. This is an oral report concerning you saying to her son, i.e. the speaker. You shall bring me poetry so that I can eat. And when your son brought 7 quails, you ate them. Shall one act against me in your presence so that my children are unhappy and your son is suffering? Who will pour water for you? Oh, may you judge between me and Sobek Hotep. I have brought him from another city in order for him to be laid to rest in his burial place and to be given mortuary garments. Why is he acting against your son so unjustly, although there is nothing I have done or said? Hurtful is evil committed against the gods. You see my sources there on the page. Seth and Garner, 1928, chapter 5, 20 through 21. And Wente, 1990, 215, number 38. Now, what we have here is this brother is telling his mother, what's up with this brother, man? This brother messing with my family. This brother, my kids is unhappy. I'm suffering here. You know what I'm saying? Holla at this brother for me, mama. His mother's in the spirit world. He's saying, holla at this brother. Tell his brother to chill out. This brother is tripping. Who gonna pour water for you? He's saying, get this brother up off me, and I'm gonna keep on doing my libations. His mama say, you shall bring me poetry so that I can eat. He said, I brought you 7 quails. You ate them. So you gonna let this spirit wreak havoc among your son, on your son and his family? So, next slide. So we see that these spirits is wreaking havoc. Let's go. Next slide. A New Letter to the Dead by Alan H. Gardner with Plate X figures 1 through 3. It is a true and surprising fact that new types of Egyptian antiquities like troubles never come singly. And an annoying variation of this fact is that never does an Egyptologist publish a book on any topic without some fresh piece of relevant material coming to his knowledge too late for inclusion. The subject of the present article is a hitherto unknown any particular fine letter to the dead belonging to Haskell Oriental Museum in Chicago, where it bears the number 1395-94-5. Permission to publish this was most kindly given to me by Professor Breasted, who also provided the excellent photographs reproducing Plate X. Like several of the other letters of the same category published by Professor Seth and myself in our joint work, Letters to the Dead, which I just showed you guys, London, Egypt, Exploration Society, 1928. The new example is inscribed in bold and typical hieratic of the First Dynasty or the First Intermediate Period between the 6 and 11 dynasties. On a pottery of red, on a vessel of red pottery, but contrary to custom, the vessel is here. The vessel is here a jar stand without a bottom and with a lid at the top. And you see it gives us the dimensions and whatnot, the measurements. The 8 vertical columns of hieratic without a short additional column 8A between 6 and 7 are so closely legible in the plate that no hand facsimile is needed. There are 1 or 2 paleographic difficulties, but on the whole, the decipherment is plain sailing. The hand closely resembles that of the Kabul, as I showed previously, which is here. Okay. Now, let's see what this says. Let's see what this says right here. Here's the primary. Let's see what the primary says. And you see the primary, and you see the glyphs right here. And it's translated. And let's see what the translation says, family. This is a reminder of what I said to you. You know that Idu said about his son, as weather may be there, I will not allow him to be harmed by any affliction. Do the same for me. Indeed, now this vessel is brought to you in order that your mother can make litigation. It is agreeable that you shall support her. Let a healthy male child be born to me. Now this is him talking to the spirit. You are an excellent spirit. Indeed, as for those two, the servants who has caused Sini to be afflicted, named Nefert, Chent, and Itjah, destroy them and destroy every affliction that is against my wife, for you know that I want it. So there's some spirits that's afflicting his wife, and he asking another spirit to take care of them spirits. Do something with them, destroy them. He want them. He want them destroyed. Destroy it completely. As you live for me, the great one will praise you, and the face of the great God will be glad over you. He will give you pure bread with his two hands. Moreover, I beg a second healthy male child. So now we see physical attributes to God. The Creator. Next slide. This is an inscription in hieratic. And you see my source on the page. Adela Oppenheim is a curator in the Department of Egyptian Art at the Metropolitan Museum in New York. Dorothea Arnold is a curator emerita in the department that's like some high level degree or whatever in his field. She's the best of the best. Department of Egypt Art, the Museum Metropolitan. So we have some pottery shards here. Let's get into them. And you can find this in the book Ancient Egypt Transformed, the Middle Kingdom, page 171. Inscribed in hieratic on these small pieces of pottery are execration texts, part of a standard formula against every conceivable enemy of Egypt, including all people, all elite, all subjects, all males, all eunuchs, all women, all officials who will rebel, who will conspire, who will fight, who say they will fight, who say they will rebel, every rebel who say he will rebel in this entire land. So this is a curse against all that. The blanket language was often augmented with specific names of countries, people, and rulers of Nubia, Libya, or Western Asia, or those of Egyptians themselves, both living and dead. Right. This can be dated. They can be dated to the middle of the 12th dynasty on the basis of paleograph of their inscription. Right, despite the inclusion of their proper names. Right, excuse me. The 12th dynasty. Yeah, I said the 12th dynasty. I think I'm skipping. My eyes playing tricks on me. On the basis of the paleography of their inscription, despite the inclusions of proper names, the general nature of the formula indicate that these objects were apotropaic, right, in nature. When we deal with the apotropaic, when we deal with these were we're going to deal with them with the wands too. These apotropaic tools were used in ritualistic practices and divinations and spell casting and stuff like this. So we're gonna get into some of this in nature rather than response to a specific threat. So what they saying is it was so much magic and bewitching going on and witchcraft going on that people would prepare themselves for anything. So they would use these apotropaic rituals or apotropaic ways to compel or combat evil forces that may have been casted against them or may have been sent their way. Let's see. Okay. It's in nature rather than responding to specific. Creating the inscriptions and burying it were part of a ritual designed to neutralize with magic potential dangers from abroad or within Egypt itself. Like I was just saying, and keeping with this practice, diagnostic pieces such as P14578 indicate that the fragments with the inscriptions come from pottery designed for rituals or cultic purposes rather than for everyday use. So absolutely, family, and we're gonna get into those apotropaic wands, because we have some apotropaic wands that I brought up to some brothers who say they deal with Kemet. They had no idea what they were. Let's keep going. This is from the book Ancient Egypt Transformed, the same book, the Middle Kingdom, page 184. The Teachers of Amenemhet. The Teachers of Amenemhet is a strikingly dramatic monologue in which the dead king speaks to his son in a vision and warns him of the burden of kingship. In it, the old king described how he was attacked and apparently killed by his bodyguards in the night. No manuscripts of the poem are known from the Middle Kingdom, but it was a classic text that was much copied as excerpts by New Kingdom scribes. It is one of the most frequent poems in these excerpted sources with more than 240 known copies. From Lish in the north, Armana west, and in the north to Armana west, Amara west in the far south, Upper Nubia. Some of these are related. Some people trace them to the 12th dynasty. Archaeology has now traced them to, or carbon dating traced them to the 18th dynasty. So that's a toss up with the date. Well, it was a toss up with the date. They just now confirmed the new date, 18th dynasty. Let's get this. It says here, lines on a pottery shard from a jar or amphora. This copy, now broken, contains the ninth stanza of the poem, followed by the date in red, day 23. Any passage of the teachings must have held particularly resonance when it particular resonance when it was being copied in the 19th dynasty or the 19th dynasty. I think I said 18th dynasty. At Lisht, the shards were found in the outer court or the pyramid complex of Senwarset the first, the very king and son whom the dead Amenemhet is addressing in the poem. So we have a dead king addressing his son, telling his son how he was busted in the head by his bodyguards and they killed him. This is real, family, no joke. Let's get the next slide. The oracular amulet papyrus. Tia Bakora, spoken by the goddess Nekbat, practical Egyptian magic spell. My sources on the page. You see the primary. Let's see what this is. Translated by Robert K. Rittner. Tebekhet, or Tebekori, the daughter of Tetisheri, who is also called Sherenihi, my servant and my offspring. I shall keep her safe from every evil design of every god and every goddess, residing in heaven, earth, and the underworld. Residing in heaven, earth, and the underworld. I shall keep her safe from their manifestations. I shall propitiate them for her in all their names. I shall keep her safe from every action of a Kuwait demon, from every action of a Simwet demon, and from every action of every god who does wrong. I shall keep her safe from every action of every god and every goddess, and from every evil thing. I shall keep her safe from the gods of the book, that which is in the year. I shall keep her safe. I shall cause it to be nullified for her at all times. I shall keep her safe from Sekhmet and her son. I shall keep her safe from the 8 of the place of the mound and the baboon of the place of Wajet. I shall keep her safe from Sekhmet and the place of Wajet. Now, why would she be needing safekeeping from forces of nature? By another force of nature? I don't think so. Let's keep going, people. We got to open our eyes and ears. Oracular amulet papyrus. For Lady Tiabakora, spoken by the goddess Nekbet, practical Egyptian magic spells. And this is also translated by Robert K. Rittner, right? Oriental Institute. I shall keep her safe from every action of a demon and every interference of a demon. I shall keep her safe from every demon of every kind that is in heaven, earth, and the underworld. I shall not let them come anywhere near her. I shall keep her safe from every evil eye. I shall keep her safe from every Syrian magic. I shall keep her safe from every magic of every foreign land of every kind in the entire earth. Why? Because this stuff was global. They was doing it all over the world. This is what the Tower of Babel is about. All the nations coming together and trying to whip up their magic to be like God. But they had another thing coming. Let's get it, family. I shall never let them prevail over her. I shall keep her safe from the wrath, from all the wrath of all male spirits and female spirits. I shall not let them come anywhere near her. I shall keep her safe from every cry of every fear. Now, question. If spirit is wind, then that wind is God, based on the claim that God is spirit, and spirit or wind would be considered by most of I heard as netter or nature. And if this nature is God or simply wind, air, or life, or life force or breath, then why would one need need protection against nature, wind, breath, spirit, God that keeps one breathing and is the life force of us all? Why would one need protection from that? Why would one want protection from that? Next slide. Let's see who Nekbet is. Now remember, family, Nekbet is being kept away, right? Nekbet is being kept away, right? Or Sekhmet is being kept away. Sekhmet is being kept away, family. Sekhmet is being kept away. So as we see, right, she being kept away for Sekhmet. Now we see Nekbet here, spoken by the goddess Nekbet. Now let's see, is Nekbet just this force of nature, right? Let's see what Nekbet is. Nekbet was an early pre-dynastic and local goddess in Egyptian mythology who was the patron of the city of Nekeb. Ultimately, she became the patron of Upper Egypt and one of the 2 patron deities for all of ancient Egypt when it was unified. Now, she was the patron deity for all of ancient Egypt when it was unified. Egypt's oldest oracle was the shrine of Nekbet at Nekeb, the original necropolis or city of the dead. It was a companion to the city Nekin, the religious and political capital of Upper Egypt at the end of the pre-dynastic period. Now, let's get straight to it. Let's get some more. The priestess of Nekbet were called Mu, mothers, and wore robes of Egyptian vaulters. Now, here's the good part, family. Nekbet was a tutelary deity of Upper Egypt. Listen to that. Nekbet was a tutelary deity of Upper Egypt. Nekbet and her lower Egyptian counterpart, Wajet, often appeared together as the 2 ladies. Now watch this. One of the titles of each ruler was Nepti, name which began with the hieroglyphs of the 2 ladies. Now, keep in mind, it says Nekbet was a tutelary deity of Upper Egypt. Let's see what a tutelary deity is of Upper Egypt. Right, family? Let's see. Tutelary deity. A tutelary deity, also tutelar, is a deity or spirit who is a guardian, patron, or protector of a particular place, geographic feature, person, lineage, nation, culture, or occupation. Let me say that one more time, because this is an exclusive God. Understand this. This is not an inclusive. This is an exclusive God, right? To tutelary deity, which segment was. A tutelary is a deity or a spirit who is a guardian, much like an Orisha, much like the Loa, a bosom, same thing. Neter is also a deity who is a guardian, because you have to remember Horus had a guardian spirit. Who was Horus' guardian spirit as a baby? Bes. Bes was also a guardian spirit of Pharaoh. You see, this was a guardian spirit of a particular person. And then you have village spirits who protect the village. And then you have ancestor spirits who protect those who they're directly connected to blood lineage wise. Then you have spirits to protect the nation spirits, culture of occupation. Then you have occupational spirits, like if you work with brass, you pray to the god of brass. Or if you was a carpenter, or if you was a fisher, you was fisherman, you pray to the god of the ocean or the goddess of the seas, or whatever have you. These gods were exclusive, not inclusive. It's a one type of tutelary deity is the genius, the personal deity or daemon of an individual from birth to death. That is the Ka in ancient Kemet. Let's read that again. One type of tutelary deity is the genius, the personal deity or daemon of an individual from birth to death. That is the Ka. Pierre A. Referred defines a tutelary spirit as a genius, as a spirit, as either the genius or a familiar spirit, should I say. He defines it, a tutelary spirit, as either the genius, present since birth, or a familiar spirit. This is the Ka. Now keep that in mind. Familiar spirit. Let's see what a familiar spirit is. In European folklore and folk beliefs of the medieval and early modern periods, remember people, this was our people who was ruling at this time. So we had African practice over in Europe, keeping African traditions, quote unquote, in Europe. Familiar spirits. In Europe, folklore and folk belief of the medieval and early modern periods, familiar spirits, sometimes referred to simply as familiars or animal guides, were believed to be supernatural entities that will assist witches and cunning folks in their practice of magic. According to the records of time, they would appear in numerous guises, often as an animal. So now when you look at Kemet, you see all the animal statues, they was big with animals. As often as an animal, but also at times as a human or humanoid figure, and were described as clearly defined. That human and humanoid figure, that's talking about the manifestations. That's talking about materialization of these spiritual beings. You understand what I'm saying? Just like Abraham walked with the angels before they tore down Sodom and Gomorrah, and he fed them. These weren't people that came from another land. They came from the heavenly realm and manifested full bodily and was able to eat. These were three-dimensional beings. Forms vivid with color and animated with movement and sound, by those alleging to have come in contact with them, unlike later descriptions of ghosts with their smoky, unidentified forms. See, that's that cast. See, you have mist, that's energy that's left behind, and then you have full body apparitions. Now, when if you look in the book African Religion Defined, which I'm going to bring out in the next segment, you'll see that actually these beings are very defined, clearly defined by the Babalaos and the priests who actually do the divinations and things of this nature. And they move and they actually communicate with them. This is not a force of nature, wind blowing and things like that. These are actually spiritual beings communicating, right? There are clearly defined three-dimensional forms, vivid with color, animated with movement and sound, by those alleged to have come in contact with them. Unlike later descriptions of ghosts with their smoky, undefined form. So you do have apparitions or ghosts who form, could be in a cloud of smoke, it could be orbs or whatever the case may be. They can manifest how they want to manifest. And some can only manifest or harvest up enough energy to take on that appearance of smoke or mist, because they are not strong enough. They're not a strong enough energy to really manifest full bodily. Let's go. But they want to. The oracular papyrus amulet, 138-139, third intermediate period, start of the first millennium. That's the source. We protect Burahakans, whose mother is Jetkons, the Jetkons, our servant and our offsprings. Listen to what this say, family. Check the source, look it up, Google it, however you want to do it. Everything I pay, all my sources going to check out. Everything I put forward going to check out. So, and it's your job to get this information. Like I said, have your pens, and I said that in the first beginning, so you can be getting this stuff down. Or if you don't got a pen, go rewind and watch it again. You can get all the sources. We will open her mouth though, so that she can drink, and we will protect her. And we will open her mouth so that she can drink, and we will open her mouth so that she can eat. We will protect her from all male and female demons. We will protect her against a demon of the river. A demon of the river. Did y'all people know, family, that they understood that demons was living in rivers, demons lived in trees, demons lived on mountains, these spirits lived in the wind, these spirits lived in whatever they wanted to live in. You know what I'm saying? The ancients had this understanding. So it wasn't that the water was actually a spirit. Spirits inhabited the rivers and the waters. Right? We will protect her against any demon of the river, a demon of the canal, a demon of a well, any demon from a lake. We will protect her from any ailment of the heart, any ailment of the lungs, spleen, head, and abdomen. We will protect her against any distress and illnesses. We will protect her from the evil stars in the sky. We will protect her from the stars in the sky that carry disease. We will protect her against Amen. What? Wait a minute. We will protect her against Amen. Somebody need protection against Amen? Moot, Kansure, Bastet, and against any god or goddess that exercise his power when he has not been placated. So she's asking for protection, or this is one god or a group of gods offering protection to a human being against Amun, Mut, Kansure. If these are forces of nature which supposedly good, why would somebody need protection from it? These are questions that I ask myself, and you have to ask yourself as we're going through this information. Next slide. Hieratic Papyrus, British Museum. Hieratic Papyrus in the British Museum, Oracular Amulet, Decree of the Late New Kingdom, Volume 2, plates by Edward S. or by IES Edwards, right? Egyptologist IES Edwards, formerly of the British Museum, produced a classic work that included oracular amulet decrees contained in the British Museum. In the study, he included photos of the original hieroglyphic text, translations, and analysis, a study that is still of great value. Sources on the page. I just read it. Now here we go. This is from Vargas, I believe, and this is Heka in the Medu, and you have Hekar or Hekawu, magic spells in the Medu. All right, let's keep going. These documents were rolled up and preserved in a case of leather, wood, and even sometimes gold, like that displayed in the exhibition and inscribed with the name Shop, Catalog 138, which we just went over. This custom, which subsequently disappeared in Egypt, continued in Nubia, and some of these texts, written in the language of the kingdom of Meroe several thousand years later, have recently been published. At the same time, the custom of wearing magic text in cases attached to the neck or arm is still prevalent in almost all the countries of Africa today. And that's why, even when you look at Africa today, you will see them wearing amulets that protects them, and they feel make them invisible, not get hit with bullets, all this type of stuff, protect them from the witchcraft of the other chiefs they beefing with. You know what I'm saying? It's still happening in the motherland today. Let's go. Container from an oracular amulet decree, Dynasty 22. The translation is below. Fitzwilliam Museum. And this is pretty interesting because we actually have the Medu like right here in gold. You understand what I'm saying? This container is beautiful. I must say this is a beautiful. Our people did things in style. When our people did things, we did it in style. We just used gold for anything. We had so much gold. So, and yes, our people. Now, the offering formula, right? Because we must understand, family, that offerings were placed to the dead, right? Now, I'm going to play this, and then I'm going to go backwards and read the offering formula. So we understand, or maybe I should just read the offering formula and then go forward and get the great teacher and let the teacher speak. Okay, the blessed dead, the offering formula. The blessed dead, those who passed the weighing of the heart in the hall of Ma'at, were thought to live eternally in a paradise with the gods. However, they did not like to be unprepared, and so their tombs were equipped with clothing, games, and furniture, as well as food and drink. Offerings were presented to the image of the gods in order to nourish and sustain them. And the Egyptians also believed that the deceased could derive substance from offerings presented to them. Offerings were brought into the chapel of the tomb and presented in front of the false door, as you see on the bottom left-hand side. The simplest style of offering tables was a reed mat with a loaf of bread on it, as you see at the top left-hand side. This became the symbol of Hotep or Hetep, which represented either an altar or an offering itself, and was used in words such as Hotep, to be pleased or satisfied. So family, just to let y'all know, Hotep was not used as a greeting of peace amongst just regular people. The word Hotep was only used dealing with ritual offering formulas, and when you're dealing with feeding a cow, or these sort of what you call it, spells, when you're speaking and enchanting and you're presenting and you're putting food in for the cow and things like that. This had nothing to do with regular people addressing each other by Hotep. That never existed. And I asked a scholar that of Kemet about a month ago, not even 2 months, month and a half ago, and he said the same thing. So, you know, and when I address people as Shalom, when I say Shalom Hotep, I'm addressing them in colloquial terms, because this is how we talk. I don't want to make a big deal of it. This is how we talk, you know, but I also knew that I was going to come back and educate the people on what this really meant. So the simplest style of offering table was a reed mat with a loaf of bread on it. This became the symbol Hotep. Hotep or Hetep, which represent either an altering or the offering itself. Listen, Hotep, which represents either an offering or the offering itself, and was used in words such as Hotep to be pleased or satisfied. Even when the reed mat was replaced by a stone offering table during the Middle Kingdom or the Old Kingdom, the offering was often created in the shape of a reed mat and a bread loaf, or had the symbol carved on its design. The offering tables were carved with images of typical offerings such as bread, beer, meat, and duck. If the family no longer made offerings at the table, it was thought that the image of the offerings would sustain the deceased. Reciting the offering formula could also substitute for a real offering. The offering formula was the principal inscription on the false door from the early dynastic periods and was popular until the end of the Greco-Roman period. It was also applied to coffins, funerary steles, paintings, jewelry, and amulets. So whatever you see this, family, know what you're dealing with. And ever you look at any architecture in ancient Kemet, know what this stuff means when you look at it. Next slide. The formula. The first of the standard elements is the phrase Hotep Denisu. Hotep Denisu, which translates as a gift offering, which the king gives. The offering was always described as being from the king, even if it was destined for a common burial. This was because the king was the spokesman for each person with the gods. So every offering was made in his name. As you see, look to the lower left-hand side, Hotep Denisu, a gift which the king gives. The glyphs is there. Then you have the next phrase is Df Peret Heru, or Dif Peret Heru, right? Dif is a future form of the verb to give, and is translated as so that he will give, while Peret Heru is translated as a voice offering. The sign of the later term include the symbol for bread and beer, even if they are not amongst the offerings, and the whole symbol represents any ritual offering. Let's read at the top, and just you can see on the left-hand side, we got the glyphs. Def Peret Heru, so that he will give a voice offering. Now let's see, the next formula confirms the name of the god who received the gifts, right? The earliest example from the 4th dynasty only refers to Anubis, but Osiris, sometimes in the form of Kentiamentu, soon becomes popular recipient of offerings. From the New Kingdom, other gods such as Amun occasionally named in the formula, were occasionally named in the Amun were occasionally named in the formula. Excuse me, family. The name of the gods is often followed by one of his or her epithets. For example, Osiris, lord of Deju or Anubis, who is on his mountain, referring to the cliffs above the cemetery. Next slide. So we see the offering formula. We see what it's consistent of. We see the name Hotep Denisu, a gift which the king give. This was an offering of the dead person or the deceased, whatever have you. It had nothing to do with greeting each other as regular living and breathing people walking around. It was not a term of endearment that people casually slung around at each other. No. Next slide. The phrase confirmed that speaking the offering formula will allow the deceased to gain access to the offerings listed after it. Offerings are often listed by abbreviations as they tended to be fairly standardized. Next slide. So now these guys want offerings. These guys want this. Now let's see. We're gonna play something by a great teacher, and let's see what this great teacher says. So let's get this mic going, and let's see what this great teacher says. Right? Let's see what he says.
Hello?
Yes, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, he came up with a different number. I wanted to, I think I have a deity trying to get into. I wasn't into the, ancestral worship. I came up like as a Mowabian, basically, into Egyptology and things of that nature. But I've had ones kind of been coming to me. I believe this Oshun, because when I look at pictures, that's what I see. The spirit that came to me was Oshun. And she keeps telling me I should be further now. I should learn how to communicate with her and things of that nature. So I've been just trying to find out, and I've been, really, really pushing it lately to try to, really find out how to communicate with her.
Okay. So, but this is what we would always, recommend up front. Like, had you ever done anything with your ancestresses and ancestors? Like any kind of?
I mean, I've had a shrine like for, ancestors that passed away. And, like I said, I was doing Egyptology, I was more into Asar, Set, and things of that nature. And then it kind of threw me off when I saw an Orisha come to me. Yeah. So,
okay.
I mean, I've never actually, practiced ancestral worship myself.
Okay, now, and this is the thing, like, for example, Asar, Set, different divinities. Heru is actually the Orisha Oshun in the Yoruba tradition. So it's the same culture. Like, it's the exact same culture. So Asar, sometimes he's called Asar Ra, but he's in connection with Ra in ancient Kemet, operating through the sun. So Asar Ra becomes Oshala or Osala in Yoruba. That's just a title of Obatala. So it's the same divinity, exact same divinity. Chief of the white cloth. Of course, he's mummified with the white cloth, chief of the white crown, and so forth. Head of the divinities, and of course they call Obatala the arch divinity and head of the Orishas and so forth, and chief of the white cloth. So it's the same divinity in Oshun as Heru. So, so just show it's not a separation. But at the same time, I would always say, starting off with the ancestresses and ancestors, because no matter what divinity comes forward, you will still deal with them according to the way your clan deals with her. So if that, and of course at the same time, you also have to make sure that is her. You know what I'm saying? That, people, when people are receptive and they do ritual work, depending on where they are and who they're connected with or whatever, you can have discarnate spirits hanging around and they see you're the only one doing meditation. You're the only one doing whatever. Everybody else in the family might be going to church or doing nothing. And they see one cat and the whole family setting up shrines and meditating. You're the one they're going to go to. You know what I'm saying? Even if they're wayward or discarnate, if they just want you to kill an animal for them or send them some energy or whatever, they'll say whatever they think you want them to say just so you can, give them some crack. It's just like a crackhead wants some crack, and they'll do whatever you ask them to do so they can get that energy, that rush.
Right.
If when they make that transition, they'll do whatever you say or think you want to hear, just so you can kill an animal for them and get that rush of energy coming from the killing of the animal, the release of that spirit. That's their crack. You know what I'm saying? So you want to make sure that is who it is. And you can learn that from who your direct blood relatives are, or at least a couple of them, but dealing with the ancestresses and ancestors who are cultivated, getting consistent with them and getting grounded so you know when they're telling yes or no, what's real, what's true, and what's not. And then also, if you feel that reality, if that's really who it is, then yeah, you can learn about that. Both some and the Unsumapa will show you, Aku to the ancestral spirits will show you the best way to harmonize with her, and she will as well if she is who she says she is.
Yeah, she came and came in my dream like through the refrigerator and said she liked lots of apples and there's a chant for everything that you want and it wasn't like kill take a head off a chicken or anything like that. It was like apples. Lots of apples. Well, now,
different Orisha have different, Abosom or Fodu, they have different things that are, harmonize with them, that carry the same energy as them. So that thing becomes like a transmitter for their energy, a magnifier for their energy to that extent. So often it is fruit, or certain, like Obashala, sometimes they're given white rice or whatever, or Oshun, sometimes it'll be oranges or different kinds of fruit or whatever. So yeah, it's not uncommon at all for Orisha to, talk about fruit or something else outside of not just, animal sacrifice, but most often it's not an animal sacrifice. Most often it's some other kind of offering.
No.
We see, family, as we see, these Neteru, Orisha, are not forces of nature. A force of nature don't ask you for some fruit. A force of nature don't ask you for food. A force of nature don't pop up through your refrigerator saying, give me this. We're dealing with actual spiritual beings. And this brother said she came to him in his dream. Just like many, many of our ancestors, the gods came to them in their dream. Just like when you deal with the dream Stella. I think that's Tutmosis, who was told to wipe the sand away from the Sphinx. If he did that, he'll get this land and that land and these and this booty and that booty. And he did. These are spiritual beings. This not wind, this not air, this not an element. These are spiritual beings outside of the physical realm, living in a world that we cannot perceive with the physical eye. Only if they want us to. Next slide. And this is a brother here that I respect. This brother is a great teacher. I watched this brother teach. I've listened to some of his lectures. This brother has some strong information. And like I said, you can actually get the video I just played from his YouTube channel, and you can actually go on his page, which is right here on my screen. The link is there, and he has so much information on his page that well, you can sign up, and you he has great information on his page. Just go check it out. And the brother is a great teacher, but I disagree with. I won't be diving into those practices. All I'm saying, if you want a good understanding of ancient Kemet, check this brother out. Next slide. The Ankh. This is from page 378 to 389 from the book Religion and Rituals in Ancient Egypt by Emily Teether. Let's see what she says. Most beyond the grave communications were between a living person and a Ankh, or a transfigured spirit. So it's not so hard to imagine transfigured spirits. Oh, and by the way, Emily Teeter is from the Oriental Institute. She's an Egyptologist. She's a bad mama jama. She got a lot of work out there. But most beyond the grave communications were between a living person and a Ankh, or a transfigured spirit. So now, when Moses went up on a mountain, okay, not Moses. It was Christ. He was transfigured, right? I believe it was Moses who spoke with, or was it Christ that was speaking with Elijah? With Moses. I believe it was Christ. He was transfigured. That's a fact. We know that. We know Moses was transfigured when he went up on the mountain, and then he came down, and they was looking at him, but he had his veil. He was glowing, so his face was glowing so crazy that they couldn't even look at him. You get what I'm saying? Because he was transfigured. It was just dying down up off him. He had to hide his face. Oh. But we see this all through ancient. So it's no secret. You get what I'm saying? So this is things that our people are scared of. They don't understand it. And it's just something we're gonna have to talk about, family. Between a person and an ankh or a transfigured spirit, and aspects of a person's energy and personality that was manifested after death. The ankh, or what you would call the, or what you not the, or what you would call in the personality. Yes, the personality in Ifa. It's called the personality of the person. All right. It said the ankh lived in the world of the gods and the dead, but it was able to communicate with and to aid or hinder the living. The ankh was thought to have a special relationship with Osiris, Amun, and especially Re. Now, if you remember, we read a spell where somebody was being protected against these exact gods, Amun and Re, or specifically Khonsu Re, who became Re. In the Book of the Dead, Ankh toes the bark of Re and travels in the sun bark, where they sit as judges of the recently deceased who clamor to join the gods. Book of the Dead, spell 64, record that the Ankh retains the appearance of the individual as he or she was before death. I have entered the transition to the afterworld as an ignorant one. I have come forth as an Ankh. I shall be seen in my human form forever. So it's not so hard to imagine when the Israelites, we say we still gonna have our bodies. We're not gonna be spirits in the heavenly realm. We're gonna have physical bodies. Our bodies is gonna be like Christ's body. You understand? But we will be bodies of light. We'll be able to do anything we want to do. That's a whole nother topic, though. Let's keep going. But as we see these transfigured spirits, or the ox, it's not a mystery. There's no spookism to it. No, this is page 81. The idea that the Ankh was a powerful force is vividly illustrated by the quote of the Ankh occur in Re, able spirit of Re, a category of transfigured spirits that was thought to have a special relationship to and communication with the gods, especially Re. Most documents about the Ankh occur in Re come from the Deir el Medina in western Thebes, but a few examples have been found elsewhere in Egypt. Our best evidence for these Ankhs is steles, most of which date to the New Kingdom. Most of these steles have been recovered from the ruins of houses or from villages or from village shrines, suggesting that they were part of a localized ancestor cult. The majority of them are modest round-top stone monuments that show the Ankh seated, usually before a table of offerings. Many show the Ankh sniffing a water lily, which is a reference to rebirth, while the majority of the steles are depicted or dedicated to man. A significant number commemorate female ox. The person who dedicated the stela may be shown offering to the spirit or adorning it. In other cases, only the Ankh is shown. Genealogical studies of the individual depicted or referred to on the stela indicate that the Ankhs were recently deceased members of the dictator's family, fathers, sons, or daughters, brothers or sisters or husbands, rather than members of long lost past generations or legendary people. Page 381. And what you are looking at is a man named Neket, and that's from the tomb of Neket, seated in the upper register. And I'm going to go into a little bit of that later. His brother is shown presenting incense to him in the lower register. His sister and another relative raised their hands in adoration. Medu Habu Dynasty 19 through 20. University of Chicago, Oriental Institute. Let's keep going. The Ankh, page 385, the same book. limestone bust representing an Iker Enre, a deified member of the community. Please, family, this is important. Pay attention to this. A limestone bust. So every time you see these busts, you know what's going on. An Ankh Iker Enre, a deified member of the community, not a force of nature. Such sculptures were kept in homes where they were the focus of an offering cult. Dynasty 19, Brooklyn Museum of Art. Next slide. Page 386 through 387. What you have here is a line drawing of a stela showing a woman holding a smoking incense burner and pouring an offering before an Ankh bust. Such rituals were thought to keep an Ankh spirit happy and prevent it from doing any harm to the family or community. Let's read what it says. Ankhs were thought to be able to intercede with the gods on behalf of the living. In order to win favor with the Ankh, members of the family left food offerings to provisions. See, in order to win favors with the Ankh. We don't want to win favors. We want to win favors with the Most High. We don't want to win favors with nobody else or no other deity. We want to win it with the Most High, and that's it. Ankh, it's a, in order to win favors with the Ankh, members of the family left food offerings to provision the Ankh in the afterlife. Some text details what was required to maintain good relationship with a local Ankh. With a local Ankh. So we can't say with a local force of nature. No. With a local Ankh. Right? One advises one makes invocation offerings to an Ankh in return for interceding for the sake of the survivors, indicting indicting had a satisfied Ankh. I think I made a typo right there. Indicating a satisfied Ankh could be a source of help to the living. Another note that the Ankh protect the body of one who pours water for him. A third complains, he, the Ankh, has not given anything to my daughter who makes funerary offerings to the Ankh. So you have a complaint. I gave you something. I gave you a bottle of beer. Give me my money. Basically, she's complaining that the Ankh ain't giving her nothing. And the third complains, he, the Ankh, has not given anything to my daughter who made funeral offerings to the Ankh. The Cairo calendar, 19th dynasty, has numerous notations of days on which the living should make offerings to the Ankh. Had numerous notations of days on which the living should make offerings to the Ankh. These are the days that, like the certain Edarus or the certain Orisha are worship, or the certain Loa, they have their own days of worship, on which the living should make offering to the Ankh in order to appease and satisfy them. I want to satisfy the Most High, no other deity. One specifically says that the offering should be made in your house, referring to a household code. If sufficient offerings were not left, there were dangers that the Ankh would become a haunting spirit, much like a ghost. Family, let's get to it. Next slide. Ankh spirits were even blamed for creating dangers that caused members of a community to die. A magical text relates the way that an Ankh might cause death of the eye, blindness, by falling, by a bird bone, choking on a bird bone, and the more mysterious, the death of a man who acts as a woman. So they was running around killing homosexuals too. I ain't got no problem. I reserve my judgment. The instructions The instructions of Ani, the 20th dynasty, contain a slightly more sinister allusion to the activities of the spirit. Appease the Ankh, do what he likes, and abstain from what he distastes. May you be spared from his many evil deeds. From him come all misfortune. Considering the potential evil that the Ankh could cause among the living, it is not surprising that the term Ankh is translated in Coptic, the late form of the ancient Egyptian language, as demon. One could protect oneself against an evil-minded Ankh by wearing a charm in the form of a spell written on a strip of papyrus and then enclosed in a wood or metal cylinder, as I brought up before. These protective charms were worn on a cord around the neck. The magical spells on the papyrus stated that a certain god had promised to protect the wearer. These oracular amulet decrees date to dynasty 22 to 23, but they also echo an earlier tradition of prayers to the god Osiris, who, as the god of the dead, was considered to be the supervisor of the Ankhs. The text provided a defense not only against evil spirits, but against any dangers such as the eye of a dead person, that is apparently the evil eye. Another text purported to repel every dead man, every dead woman, every male, and every female enemy who would do evil to a person. If a charm could not protect the living from an evil spell, one could go to a third party, the gods, for protection. A decree of Amu stipulated that a dead woman, Princess Nashkun, was not to harm her husband and relatives from beyond the grave. So, family, we see what's going on here. It's not a mystery. It's on a popping. They got it popping. Communicating with the gods. This is from the book by Emily T. The Religion and Ritual in Ancient Egypt, page 279. And outside of this, a lack of faith and belief is un-African. Egyptian religious practice provided a great number of ways through which devotees could have immediate contact with the gods. Although ordinary people were denied entrance to the sanctuaries of temples, other areas were designated for public use and assembly. Chapels of the hearing ear, located in areas of public access, were devoted to relaying requests to the gods. And you actually have an ear stela. Y'all can look that up where they got the ears on the stela. A devotee could establish a permanent presence in the temple by dedicating a statue or stela of himself to act as a surrogate and eternally absorb daily rituals and prayers. Portable stelas decorated with ears, as well as dreams and trances, made it possible for an individual to contact the gods without even entering a temple. If one or more was not personally capable of contacting the gods, intermediates could help. Most contact with the gods was motivated by a search not for philosophical knowledge or even counsel, but rather for resolutions of everyday matters, especially issues on health. So that's where your science come in at. The petitioner gave something: prayers, food, offerings, or a votive object, in confident expectations of stimulating divine action. The ability of people from all stratas of society to turn to their God at any time and for any reason underscores the immediacy of religion and the ways in which faith was incorporated into all aspects of Egyptian life. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end it here with a scripture. I'm going to end it here with a scripture. I didn't even have no idea this was going to be this long. No idea at all. So I'm going to end it with a scripture, right? I'm going to go to Deuteronomy. I'm going to go to 18. All right. I'm gonna end it with a scripture. I'm gonna go to Deuteronomy 18, and I'm gonna start at 10. Deuteronomy 18:10. There shall not be found among you anyone that make his or her son pass through the fire, or that uses divination, or an observer of time, or an enchanter, or a witch, or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer. For all that do these things are an abomination unto the Lord, and because of these abominations the Lord have drove them out before thee. So part 2 coming soon. Peace to the 12 tribes scattered abroad. Shalom. Your boy Jesus the Capital signing off.